Hey everyone, welcome to, this deep dive we're doing on emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence.
It's everywhere you look these days, right?
It's like the thing, everyone's talking about it. So we're going past just the buzzword today. We're going to do a real deep dive. We're going to figure out why it matters, how it works, and most importantly, I think,
Yeah.
how to actually like boost your own EI
Yes.
using, well, honestly, some pretty cool research.
Yeah, no, it's true.
We found some cool stuff.
It's not just hype. This stuff really does have, like, real implications. And we're going to unpack all of it, from, like, the actual neuroscience of what's going on up here.
Literally in our brains.
Yeah, to, like, the stuff you can actually use today to make a difference.
Okay, so basics. Emotional intelligence. What are we even talking about when we say that?
So basically, it's being able to understand and manage your own emotions, for sure. But then also being able to see and maybe even influence other people's emotions, too. It's kind of like having an inner GPS,
Okay.
but for your feelings.
I like that.
For, like, navigating all that messy stuff, your own feelings, the people around you, all of that.
So it's more than just like knowing what you're feeling. It's
Yeah.
like what you do with it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, picture this. You're super stressed at work,
Oh, I know. Stress.
and someone, I don't know, they spill their coffee
The worst.
all over this big presentation you're about to give.
Oh, no.
Someone with, like, low EI, they might just totally lose it, yelling, maybe even saying something you'll regret later.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you've got that high EI, I mean, yeah, you'll feel that same stress, but
That's how you deal with it.
exactly. You can,
Yeah.
like, pause, take a breath. Then you respond in a way that's calm, cool, collected, and honestly, way more effective in the end.
And I'm guessing that kind of just like composure, especially when things are tough, that's got to help in all parts of your life, not just work, right?
Oh, absolutely. And here's the kicker. There's actually research that shows a direct link. Like, high emotional intelligence, it actually connects to doing better in all areas: work, relationships, even your health.
Okay, so this isn't just like a self-help thing. There's actual data to back this up.
Tons of it. One study, it was Talent Smart, they found that 90% of top performers, no matter what they were doing, they all had high EI.
Seriously, 90%.
Think about that.
It's most of them.
It's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a pretty big deal
Yeah.
if you want to like succeed.
It's a big one.
Let's zoom out for a sec though and talk about the how. We keep saying emotional intelligence, but we're talking about like the brain, right?
Yeah.
Like, is there something different happening in the brains of people with high EI? So we've kind of laid the groundwork here. We
Yeah.
know EI is important.
Right.
Really important if you want to, do well in pretty much anything.
For sure.
But what about the people who, like, I don't know, maybe they're still like figuring it out.
Right.
What are the biggest mistakes people make with this emotional intelligence stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Even if they're like trying to be good.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
It's not always easy.
Especially when you think, even with the best intentions, we can still mess up when it comes to emotional intelligence. I mean, staying cool when things get crazy, or like really feeling what someone else is going through when we're so stuck in our own heads. It's not easy.
Yeah, for sure.
But here's the thing. There are, like, these common traps people fall into. And honestly, even just knowing about them is huge.
Okay, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Hit me with these pitfalls.
All right. So pitfall number 1, reacting instead of responding.
Ooh, okay.
Have you ever sent, like, a really angry email
Oh, yeah.
when you're just fuming, and then later you're like, why did I send that?
The worst.
Or, like, said something kind of harsh to, I don't know, your partner, your friend, when you were just stressed out.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I think we've all been there.
Right. It's like our emotions just completely hijack our brain.
Totally.
And we react without thinking.
Yeah.
That's where the whole responding thing comes in.
Yeah.
Like, a big part of this whole EI thing, it's about being able to just hit pause for a second.
Oh, but you're still.
Between, like, the thing that sets you off and then how you react to it.
I see.
There's this study, I think it was the University of Amsterdam, I'm pretty sure that's who did it.
Okay.
And they found that even just a few seconds,
Seriously.
yeah, can make a huge difference.
So, like, even just taking a breath.
Totally.
Right.
Or, like, doing that whole count to 10 thing people talk about, that actually helps.
It helps you get to that, like, calmer part of your brain.
Exactly. It's like you're creating this little gap,
I like that, a little gap.
like a tiny space,
Yeah.
where you can actually choose how you want to respond
Okay.
instead of just, like, going on autopilot.
Interesting.
It's not about, like, pretending you don't have feelings.
Right, right.
It's more about, like, being in charge of them.
Yeah, so they don't control you, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it. So hitting the pause button, that's number one. What's number two?
Number 2 is all about empathy. Or, well, not having enough of it.
Oh, okay.
Now, it's not that people aren't trying to be empathetic. It's just,
Yeah,
well, think about it. Our world is just,
it's a lot.
it's so fast. Everyone's constantly connected.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just get stuck in your own head and forget to, like, really tune into what other people are going through.
That is so true. Like, everyone's walking around with their own little world happening up here. And it's like, how do you even break through that?
It's tough. But here's the thing about empathy. It's like a muscle.
Oh, I like that.
You got to use it, you know?
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. And there's this psychologist, Daniel Gilbert.
Okay, yeah.
He did this research that showed, like, if you actually practice empathy,
Okay.
it can make you feel less lonely and more connected to people.
That's amazing.
Right.
Okay, but how do you even, like, practice empathy?
Yeah.
What does that even look like?
So it really comes down to this, active listening.
Okay, I've heard of that.
But I'm not talking about just, like, nodding while someone's talking at you.
Right.
It's more about, like, really tuning in,
Okay.
giving them your full attention,
I see.
asking questions to make sure you understand, and really trying to see the whole thing from their side of it.
So it's not about, like, jumping in to fix it or
Yeah.
tell your own story.
Exactly. It's about saying, like, hey, that sounds really rough. What's been the hardest part for you? You know, stuff like that.
Like making them feel heard. Yeah.
Exactly. And the cool thing is that kind of deep listening, it's not just good for them. It builds trust. It builds connection between you.
Oh, that's so cool. It's good for everyone.
Right. A total win-win.
Okay, so pitfall number 2.
Yeah.
Not enough empathy.
Right. Got to flex those empathy muscles.
What about number 3? What's the last one?
Okay, so this one's sneaky. A lot of people don't even realize they're doing this one.
Uh-oh.
It's a lack of self-awareness.
Okay. Yeah, we touched on that already.
Yeah, and what we got to emphasize this one. It's like the foundation.
Okay, self-awareness or, like, not having it.
Yeah. And we all like to think we're pretty self-aware.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to think so.
But the reality is everybody's got blind spots.
Oh, for sure.
We might think we're coming across as, like, super calm and put together.
Right.
When actually other people are picking up on our anxiety, you know?
That's a little scary, actually.
It's true, though. There was this study, I think it was out of Cornell,
Okay.
and they found that most people totally overestimate how emotionally intelligent they actually are.
Wow, really? I thought it was the
Yeah,
opposite.
I know, right? It's wild.
Wow, okay. So if we're, like, prone to these blind spots, how do we even know? How do we fix it?
Hmm.
So we've talked about these self-awareness blind spots, and honestly, it's a little unnerving.
Yeah, I get it.
How do we even begin to, like, uncover those and actually become more emotionally intelligent?
Well, it's true. It's not always easy to see yourself, like, completely objectively, you know?
Right.
But the good news is you can develop that self-awareness.
Okay, good.
And it's, honestly, it's like a superpower when it comes to boosting your EI overall. Think of it like shining a light on those blind spots, you
Yeah.
know? You start to see things you didn't even know were there before.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, there are some really practical things you can start doing, like today, to make it happen.
All right, give me the good stuff. What are the tools?
One of the most powerful tools you've got, journaling. And I'm not talking about, like, Dear Diary and what you had for lunch.
Right, yeah.
This is about, like, carving out a few minutes every day to really think about your emotions, the stuff you're going through, and what it all means.
You know, I've tried journaling, and I always feel like I draw a blank. It's kind of intimidating.
I hear you. Don't overthink it. Just start writing.
Okay.
You could even just start with something like, what am I feeling right now? Or, like, what's been on my mind lately? And here's a tip from, well, he's kind of a big deal in psychology, Daniel Siegel. He says, when you're writing, try to come at it from a place of curiosity, not judgment.
Oh, that's good.
It's not about beating yourself up for feeling a certain way.
Right.
It's more like just noticing those feelings, seeing what they might be telling you
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
about your needs, what you value, even just patterns in how you react to things.
So it's about understanding, not judging.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it. So journaling, that's one tool. What else?
All right, tool number 2, and we touched on this a bit earlier, but mindfulness meditation.
Okay, yeah, mindfulness.
I know, it's not for everyone, but honestly, there's a reason it's everywhere these days. It's not just about feeling zen, although that's a nice bonus. It's about training your brain to see your thoughts and feelings without getting totally swept away by them.
So how does that connect back to, like, emotional intelligence, though?
Remember that study we talked about before?
Uh,
The one from, I think it was psychological science?
yeah.
The one that found people who practice mindfulness are way better at handling their emotions when things get tough.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, that's because mindfulness is like building a
Mm.
muscle that helps you stay present, stay grounded, even when everything around you feels like a hurricane.
It's like that space between the feeling and the reaction we were talking about, right?
Exactly, that pause button.
Yeah,
And the more you practice, the stronger that muscle gets.
I like that, a mindfulness muscle.
Right. And then you get better at handling those tough situations
Yeah.
with more like clarity. You're
Yeah.
more composed.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It's a game changer.
All right, mindfulness meditation, adding it to my list. Next tool.
Let's circle back to empathy for a sec.
Okay.
Remember the 3 C's.
Yeah. Curiosity, compassion, and concern.
Right.
Yes.
You got it.
That one really stuck with me.
It's such a simple framework, but so powerful.
Yeah.
So let's say you're talking to a friend and they're going through something rough.
Yeah, okay.
Instead of jumping in with advice or making it about you, you could ask curious questions like, what's been the hardest part of this for you? To show compassion, you could say something like, I can only imagine how tough this must be. And then to show concern, you could offer support, like, is there anything I can do to help?
It's like you're giving people a roadmap for how to have these more empathetic conversations.
Yes, exactly. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. And then pretty soon you'll find yourself approaching all your interactions, not just the tough ones, with more empathy, more understanding.
I love that. Okay, so we've got journaling, mindfulness, the 3 C's of empathy. What's the last tool in our emotional intelligence toolkit?
This one might sound familiar, but it's important, so we're going to repeat it. Active listening. We talked about it with empathy, but it's so important for building strong relationships. It deserves its own moment.
Okay, active listening. I feel like we all think we're good listeners, but are we really? What makes it different?
Active listening is about being totally present with whoever you're talking to, putting your own stuff aside, even just for a bit, and really focusing on them. And it's not just about the words, you're paying attention to their body language, their tone, all those little clues that tell you what's really going on.
So it's like you're saying, I see you, I hear you, and what you're saying is important.
Yes, exactly. Who wouldn't want to feel like that?
Right.
It's a gift to feel truly heard. And fun fact, there's a ton of research now connecting active listening to being a good leader.
Really? Tell me more about that. How does EI, especially active listening, how does that show up in leadership?
Well, think about it. Great leaders, they aren't just about giving orders or being the smartest person in the room. It's about building a culture where people feel seen, heard, valued. And that starts with listening.
That makes a lot of sense. I bet there's research on this, right?
Oh, tons.
Uh,
Google did this whole study. They called it Project Oxygen. They wanted to figure out what made their best managers so good at their jobs.
okay. And what'd they find?
The top qualities weren't about like tech skills or fancy resumes. It was their emotional intelligence. The best leaders were good at creating a positive environment. They were empathetic listeners, and they knew how to motivate their teams, not through fear, but through connection.
That's fascinating. So emotional intelligence really is like the secret ingredient to good leadership.
It's a huge part of it, for sure. And it's not just about being happier at work, although that's great too. It also makes a difference in how well a company does overall. When people feel valued, respected, they do better work.
It's a win-win for everyone.
Exactly.
Wow, this whole deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I've learned so much about emotional intelligence, what it is, why it's important, and how to actually use it in my own life.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, it's a journey, not a finish line. Keep learning, keep practicing, and you'll see the benefits in every part of your life.
So true. It's about being our best, most empathetic selves for ourselves and everyone around us.
I love that. It's about those things that make us more human, more compassionate, more connected.
Absolutely. Well, this has been fantastic. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into emotional intelligence. Until next time.